Good afternoon, guys. This is Shawn McClure, and I'm going to be showing you my 422 Social Studies Day project on the Holocaust. First, I want to talk about my standard that I used, and I'm going to show you on my computer because my printer was messed up and it would not print. But you can see that the Tennessee standard is 5.57, write an informative text about the Holocaust and its impact. I actually was able to teach part of a unit plan or a unit lesson on this. It was 5 days of Holocaust review, and I was in there about 2.5 days. I was normally in a math class during my first clinical experience, but I was able to go into this reading class because they were starting to integrate reading and social studies together, and it was a really good opportunity for me to be able to go in here, and then plus the teacher that was in that classroom, Miss Williams, let me talk to the students and teach the students some of this information about the Holocaust because I really enjoy this time period. And I wanted to show you my concept map here that I created. I did this on Word, and it talks about the forms of oppression, which is the Nuremberg laws, the yellow stars, and euthanasia. The causes of the Holocaust were things like the Treaty of Versailles, the economy, nationalism, and religion. And the methods that they used were the death squads, concentration camps, death camps, and ghettos. And then the aftermath, of course, is modern Europe, the Nuremberg trial, and the founding of Israel. I'm going to show you next the Holocaust fast facts. The kids actually did some of these when we were doing the very first day of this unit, and the kids told me some of this stuff. And beginning with the first one is the Holocaust began in January 1933 when Hitler became chancellor and he came to power, and it technically ended on May 8th, 1945, all the way down to the very bottom, and all of them were pretty much able to tell me this one. The final solution was constructed during the Wannsee Conference in January of 1942. And 14 high-ranking Nazi officials met there in the suburb of Berlin and presented a program to deport all Jews to Poland, and then there they would be killed. So that was their final solution. These people were highly influential in the Nazi Party. Obviously, Adolf Hitler being the leader, his right-hand man, Heinrich Himmler, all the way down to Hans Frank, Albert Speer, and Walter Funk. Next, I'm going to show you the Holocaust vocabulary that we did. Most of this is vocabulary that I pre-taught, but some of it they actually added in when we were doing the 3 texts in the social studies book, close reading, and also when we were using the companion text. So some of these words are words that they thought were important, so we added them. And then some of them I added as I was doing this project. I thought they were important words that everybody needed to know. This is the Holocaust timeline. I used this paper. I printed it off of a website. It was already made, and I used this so kids could have some extra support. They could use this independently without calling on the teacher or a partner for help. They could use this as a reference. They used this during the teaching of the vocabulary, possibly to find answers to some of the vocabulary and give some input there. And then they also used it during their close readings of all the things that we read, during the questions, during the game that we did, and I'll show you that in just a minute. And then also, finally, at the very end, the teacher said that some of them actually pulled it out and used it for their accommodation or modifications for their testing at the very end. So they really enjoyed having that. But then I'll show you this timeline. This timeline was created just for this project. It's a little bit more in depth, and I just printed it off instead of writing it out because it would have took a lot of room. But it's 4.5 pages long, and it starts from January 30th, like this one up here did. January 30th, Hitler was sworn in as Chancellor of Germany, and it became the largest party in the German parliament, all the way to the very end when Germany surrendered on May 7th of 1945. But it goes into more detail, and it has a few more dates in there that the other one didn't. This is the Holocaust fast facts for the praxis study that I had created. It is 4 pages long, and I'll actually put it on live text in Moodle as well for reference. This is something that I highly recommend for any subject. It's the Quick Flip Questions book of Bloom's Taxonomy questions. You can use it from the lowest level to the highest level of questioning, and that's one of my weaker areas. I'm getting a lot better than I was, but sometimes you have students on different ability levels in the classroom, and even though they're on different ability levels, you want to kind of ask them the same questions, but guide the ones that need to be guided that may be on that lower level, and these books kind of help you do that. So I always try to have that handy. I didn't have it with me last semester because I let someone borrow it and they didn't give it back to me, but I was fortunate enough to get it back, and I used it for this part and for some of the lesson plans I had in this clinical that I was in. This is a book that we used. They actually read this book in the unit. It took them a little bit longer than a week. So they were getting into some other things that happened right after the Holocaust by the time they finished this. But the kids really enjoyed it. It's a book about a girl that was in the Holocaust and then grew up and got married afterwards. And it's a really good, true story of what happened to her during the Holocaust. And we actually used this in companion to 3 readings in the social studies book. But the social studies book I was not allowed to bring with me. I'm not allowed to take it off of the campus of the school that I work at. But it's a Gibbs and Smith Tennessee textbook, and it was 5th grade, and it was paired with this one. This is actually printed out copies of the Kahoot game that I did with the students. And I was only going to do this game 1 time, but they loved it so much we did it 2 times. And they wanted to do it more, but we didn't have enough time. So I'm going to show you here on my computer the Kahoots game. The Kahoot game is off of a website called Kahoot, and what it is teachers or any educator, someone who works in the school system, can log on to here and create a free account and go in here and access already uploaded games. So it's I'll show you about that in just a second, but they can log on here and they can type in their own questions and upload their own pictures, and then it comes up like as a game, like a flash, and you have to have the PIN number to sign on to this, so that's why I'm just showing you this page. But the kids will get the PIN number and they can use it on their laptop or with little clickers, and they will answer these questions. So like it'll go in order, question 1, question 2. This one had 26 questions. So it went all the way through 26, and what they do is they answer the question, and say there's 25 students in the classroom, and one kid might be first 5 times through question 5, but then somebody could beat them and somebody else could be first on question 6. So it kind of is a race, and it also tells them their time, so it gives them the opportunity to speed up a little bit and develop that fast thinking skill that they need. And the kids loved this game. This one was pre-made. It's called Holocaust Review, and it paired very well with the social studies text that we read, the 3, and also the Ellie book, because it talked about when it began, when the Holocaust began, when it ended, who was affected, prisoners were herded into what, the largest concentration camp was called what, and then when did it end, and who all was affected. So they really loved that. Last but not least, I'm going to show you this timeline. This is a representation of several timelines that my students created when we were doing the Holocaust unit. And I kind of used some of their dates and my dates from this project and built this timeline. And I used the name of one of theirs, which is called the Bloody Timeline. And you can see at the top, January 30th, 1933, Adolf Hitler was elected chancellor. And that started the horrific treatment of Jews and other minority groups. You can see down here, the second one on the right, February 12th, 1940, the first Jews were deported. Then down here on the left, the 4th one down, September 3rd, 1941, the first test of Zyklon B gas was performed at Auschwitz concentration camp. It's probably one of the more well-known concentration camps, and the kids were really fascinated to talk about what actually Zyklon B gas was, and actually fully understand that it was just a huge gas chamber, and those things were thrown in there and thousands of people were killed at a time. And they were both saddened and amazed at the same time over that. And you can see here, January 20th, 1942, the Wannsee Conference was held to organize the final solution. Down below that, May 19th, 1943, Berlin declared Jew free. Below that, April the 30th, 1945, Hitler commits suicide in Berlin. And then on the very bottom on the left, May the 7th, 1945, Germany surrendered. So all of these things, the concept map, the praxis study tips, the 3 timeline of events, the learning game and the lesson plan, paired with this text and the 3 texts in the social studies book, all made up my Holocaust board. And I almost forgot to show you these. These are the graphs that I actually made to represent some of the information on the timeline, in the fast facts, the vocabulary, the concept map, and the praxis study, and also in the Cahoots game. You have the Holocaust deaths. That includes everybody that was affected in the Holocaust, not just the Jews. The concentration and extermination camp death count here on the bottom. This one on the top, population of Jews during Nazi Germany. It was before the Holocaust started, and then you can see how many less there were at the end in 1950. And then this one down here is the statistics by country of Jews before and after the Holocaust. The 2 pictures that you see here on this left of the board are pictures of women and young children that were executed when they went to the extermination camp, immediately off of the train cars, the cattle cars. These are pictures of boys and men who were deemed still fit to work. So they were saved for just a little while, often killed shortly after. And then this is the pictures of the other minority groups that were affected. You have the gypsies, the gay, the mentally handicapped, the physically handicapped, and some of the more famous people were Anne Frank and her family. These pictures here represent the yellow star that the Jews were forced to wear. And then these are the swastikas that the Nazis wore. All of this information is my Holocaust project. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, just contact me at Tusculum University. Have a blessed night.